to the Still Life. My name is Angela. This is my first video or episode of the Still Life. Bear with me. I'm probably gonna have a few hiccups along the way as I'm recording. You might notice that I might look up a lot with my eyes as I'm thinking, but yeah, just have some grace with me as this is my first video, and I hope they get better as time goes on. You might notice a little echo or a little hollow tone in the video because of where I am recording at this time, but bear with me again. Like I said, this will not be the actual location where I'll be doing the Still Life, but this is where I decided to do my first episode, and so yeah. So let's get into it. Again, the Still Life. Let's talk about what that's about. The Still Life comes from the fact that this is a channel about basically me as a Torontonian who's moved to Calgary. I moved to the city of Calgary last year, May 2024, from Toronto. So I left the east side and I uprooted and moved over to the west side of Canada. How I got here, that's another story. I believe it's God. I believe fate brought me here, and I will tell that story in another video about how that came to be. But as far as the purpose and what Still Life is, it's basically, and I might be looking down at my notes too as well, you'll notice that, it's basically a channel that it's just a way of me showcasing my life now as a Calgarian. Basically, I'm hoping that this will help somebody who may be wondering about Calgary or about moving to Calgary, and you just want some background or some quick notes of what it's like here. This might be the channel for you, or this video might be for you. So stay tuned for more videos. I do plan to share more videos about my life in Calgary. And yeah, like I said, I hope it helps somebody, and that's really the purpose and reason for this channel. It's really just to showcase my life here in Calgary, what Calgary is like, my experience and things like that. And again, in terms of Still Life, what that really means is just my life here. It's a lot more still compared to when I lived in Toronto. And I will talk more about that in this video as we go along. So, Calgary. What is Calgary life like? Well, that depends on you, the person. Another Calgarian might not see things the way I do, but I'm going to give you my perspective and what I've noticed since I've become Calgarian, or I should say moved to Calgary. And yeah, I'm going to let you know some of the things that I've noticed. Obviously, Calgary is not Toronto. Calgary definitely has a culture. They have a culture here. Like anywhere in the world, I believe there is a culture. The people or the place, it operates a certain way. People think alike or a certain way. So there is a culture here. Like I said, Calgary is not Toronto. For example, or for instance, Calgarians, sorry Calgarians, you're not very friendly. I don't find Calgarians very friendly. I know they talk about Canadians being friendly. I don't find them very friendly compared to Toronto or Torontonians, right? I find we're more friendly in Toronto, more talkative. We'll strike up a conversation if we don't know you. In Calgary, people will just stare at you. If not stare at you, will pass you by. Won't say a word to you. I don't know if has to do with, it's a race thing for some people. I don't know. I don't know if it's because when people see me, maybe for example, a white person sees a black person. But personally, what I found is in Calgary, people are not very friendly. I'll probably get into that another time, but that's just what I found, is that I find the Torontonians a little bit more free-flowing, can strike a conversation, whereas a Calgarian, like I said, nothing. You really don't really get anything from them. When I came to my place of employment, and I won't get into that, I'm in the education field, and I walked the halls of certain schools. I found a lot of the times The teachers never said hi to me. Even in a, a staff room or whatever, just never said hi to me. Whereas when I was in Toronto, a couple, one or two people or whatever, they'll say something or they'll strike up a conversation with you. Nothing big or anything like that, but yeah, you didn't really feel too lonely. Like, people made you feel welcome. In the Calgary schools that I was going into, not at all. Okay, this is the public board. Again, I don't know if this has to do with my color. I don't know. It's just what I found. It wasn't as friendly as compared to when I was walking into school halls of Toronto in the public board. So yeah, and then not only that too, even on the streets or wherever, if I went into a place of establishment or whatnot or anywhere, I just didn't find that Calgarians I didn't find them friendly. And the thing about Calgary too, there's one thing about Calgary, at least from what I have been seeing on my side of Calgary. I'm in the northwest area, and there are four quadrants, I should say, or four, they have divided like Calgary up into like 4 spaces. So you have like the northwest, northeast, southwest, southeast. On my side, there are many Ontarians that have moved here, people from Ontario, even BC and so forth, that have come over onto my side. So I really love that aspect. But when I've gone outside of Northwest, or like I said, sometimes not even outside of Northwest, when I bumped into people that lived in Calgary or Calgarians, again, I just didn't find them very friendly. Yeah, I would almost say cold, so yeah. I don't know if that will be your experience if you come here. It may not be, and hopefully it's a good experience. I find Calgary quite conservative. These are not people of change, really. I find in Ontario we're a lot more liberal in our mindset and our thinking and how we do things, whereas in Calgary there is like, this is how we do it. When I say culture, there's this culture of this is how we do it and that's it. There's no like wiggle room, nothing. Whereas in Ontario, a little more liberal, people are a little bit more understanding, a little bit more open-minded. So, we can work with the person. Whereas in Calgary, it's like, well, yeah, you don't have it, bye. Like, hey, so tough type of thing. So it's really interesting. Yeah, Calgary is a conservative, I would say a conservative, I don't want to say state, even though Trump is trying to make Canada a state, but yeah, it's a conservative place. What else? Yeah, so conservative. I also find here in Calgary, the people are a little bit more worrisome. I remember, and this is kind of like a one-off, when I moved here, my kids, like coming from Ontario, at least the way I've raised them, I would raise them to be independent. And so my daughter, I think one of my daughters was running around me, and I had a stroller with my other daughter in it. And one lady came up to me, she's like, hey, you're a kid. And I'm like, yeah, she's fine. Like, she's in the lobby. She can't, she's not gonna run out. I see your point, but she's not gonna run out. My daughter knows, like, I mean, kids do, obviously, you can't predict what people are gonna do, but I know my daughter, I've taught her she's not to go ahead of me or go outside without me type of thing. So she was just like running in the lobby part, and this lady came up to me and she's like, hey, you know what, your daughter, but I'm like, don't worry, she's good. And it annoyed me a little bit because I'm like, what? She's doing what a kid would do, like run, right? And I've had a couple of run-ins like that where people, like, things that I would tend to worry about, or like that I didn't find like a big deal, it was like a big deal. So for me, I considered that like them being worrisome. So yeah, like that's what I found. I found that, or at least I find that they're not very laid back. Calgarians are not very laid back people, in my opinion. I think very stringent and, like I said, conservative. If I haven't already mentioned already, obviously Calgarians, I shouldn't say Calgarians, this is a lot slower pace here. compared to where I'm from, you know, Toronto, the city there. Calgary is a city, like I said before, but I find it just a slower paced city. And so I would like to go into, I'll give you an example of slow paced. I'm just gonna drink some water because my throat's dry. So yeah, in terms of a slower pace, for example, fast food. You would think you go to a fast food place and yeah, it's fast food, right? Well, as you see me drinking the McDonald's, I live near McDonald's. I found that when I came here, the first 2 months, I was like, because I'm used to a certain pace in Toronto. So coming here in Calgary, I found they were not in a rush to get me coffee, not in a rush to get me anything. It was just a lot slower. Like no one was in a rush to do anything. And, you know, it made me see after a while, like, whoa, Ange, like you are coming from somewhere busy, and where you live now, they don't do things that way here. So it took me about 2 months to realize, oh boy, this is what it is, right? You're just not going to get your food fast here, okay? Not as fast as in Toronto, basically. So one of the things that I do now is I use my apps now more. You know, my fast food apps a lot more, or just apps more to order beforehand. Whereas in Toronto, I wasn't really doing that. But here I was like, I gotta do that here because I'm gonna be waiting forever if I don't. So yeah, so one of the things, like I said, just a slower pace here in Calgary. Again, I find people a little bit more worrisome. It's conservative. Now let me get into some of the things that I do like about Calgary. Moving here, one of the things I can say I like about Calgary is its natural beauty. Ooh, Calgary is a beautiful place. Lots of land. It just has lots of natural beauty. That's one of the first things that I've noticed. A lot of open sky. What else? I think it's a good place to raise a family. Again, slower pace. So I have a young family. I got 3 daughters and a husband, and my eldest daughter is 7. My youngest daughter is 2. The pace we were living in Toronto was pretty quick. I was rushing all the time with my 3 girls. It's like, yeah, you know, drop them off at daycare, run to work, da 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 da. So you know, I didn't realize how fast I was going when I lived in Toronto until I got here. And I was like, whoa, like you were going at a fast pace with 3 kids, and you got to slow it down. And that's one of the reasons why I think I'm here too. I'll give my story in another episode of like why I moved to Calgary and how that came about. But yeah, like I realized, wow, like, you know what? My kids are young, and being in Calgary allows me to slow down and raise my family and enjoy moments and just slow down. So that's a plus, or that's something that I like about Calgary. And then finally, I have to say that Calgary has no HST. No HST. Coming from Toronto, we have 2 taxes when it comes to the outside taxes. When I say outside, when you're purchasing. So there's the GST and there is there's the GST and there is the HST. Here in Calgary, you only have one, and it's the GST. We do not have a harmonized sales tax here, which is a bonus, especially if you're raising a family. Like, you know, these days, everybody's trying to save money, like, especially with inflation and everything going up. It is not easy. Not an easy time that we're living in. So it's always a bonus when you don't have to pay as much taxes. Or it's one less tax to pay, right? So yeah, those are the things I like about Calgary. All right, so similarities, differences between Toronto and Calgary. One thing about moving here to Calgary, it's funny, like even though I left Toronto, the similarities, when I say similarities, they're differences, but similarities. For starters, not the area code. I think, the airport code that they have, it's it's like the airport code that you would have for your city. So Toronto's is YYZ and Calgary's is YYC, right? So the last letters are different, but you have the two Y's that are similar. It's YY, and then the ending obviously is different. What else? CN Tower, which is a landmark of Toronto. There is also a tower in Calgary downtown, just like how there's a tower downtown in Toronto. There's one in Calgary, and it's called the Calgary Tower. So you have the CN Tower in Toronto, and you have the Calgary Tower. Now, if you compare the two of them, I'm gonna point up here because I'm gonna place the Toronto one here, and I'm gonna have the Calgary one show up here. When you see the two, one is obviously taller than the other. Toronto's is taller, while Calgary's tower is a lot shorter, and I would say maybe bulkier in a way, and Toronto's is a lot more skinnier. So even though they're two towers, the height is obviously different. You have one that is tall, one that is shorter, one that is skinnier, one that is bulkier, right? Another thing that I've noticed that is similar but different when it comes to things of Calgary and Toronto is the climate. By the way, even though we have 4 seasons in both places, I'm going to say that the Calgary is a lot more drier, just drier. When I got here, oh my God, my hair, it was in a curly state. Like, my natural hair is curlier. And I noticed when I came here, my hair, I just did not know what to do with my hair. It was a lot more shinier when I put products in. When I lived in Toronto, the products just took a certain way. My hair looked a certain way. When I got here, I noticed a change in my hair. When I got here, that's one of the reasons why my hair is straightened. I just didn't know what to do with my hair. I was like, oh my God, like, this is different. So it had to do with the dryness of Calgary. Calgary is a very dry place. And because of its dryness, I don't use lotion anymore. When I lived in Toronto, I used lotion. I had no problems. Here, I got to use a cream, which is a lot more moisturizing. My whole entire family has to use cream. My children, we have mild eczema, but I find that it started to come out more when we moved here. My kids never really had, they had eczema, but it wasn't like, it didn't pop up a lot, or it didn't have a whole lot. Here, I have to make sure that their skin is moisturized, and not with lotion. It has to be with cream. So yeah, again, the differences I noticed were the airport code, the two towers, the dryness and wetness, I should say, because Toronto's a lot more wet in terms of when I say its climate, so humid. When it comes to the humidity and things like that, it's a lot more wet. That's what we sweat more in Toronto. Here in Calgary, it's a lot more dry, right? Yeah. What else? Another thing that I noticed, the license plates. The license plates of Calgary and Toronto. In Toronto, the license plate has the number first, so 3 numbers and then 4 letters. Whereas in Calgary, you have 3 letters first and then 4 numbers follow after. So this is so interesting. Yeah, so it's like Toronto again. 3 numbers of my first 3 numbers of my license plate was 906, and then you had 4 letters that came after that. And then here in Calgary, it's the opposite. So you have the letters first, and then 4 numbers that follow after. At least that's what I noticed. Oh, another thing that I've noticed was, again, I'm going to go back to downtown. Toronto has something called the Sky Dome, or now they call it the Rogers Center. And as you know, it's like a dome. So it has, it's hollowed out to dome, right? Yeah. And then here in Calgary, we also have a dome close to downtown, and this is called the Saddle Dome. I think I'm saying it right, Saddle Dome. In Calgary, and it's not concave, but it's what do you call it? It's not hollowed out, but it's inward. So it's kind of like this. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It goes like this instead, right? Whereas in Toronto, the domes go like that. In Calgary, the dome goes like this, like a saddle, basically, because that's what's called a saddle dome, right? And speaking of saddle, I'll get into this after. So again, you both have domes, and by the way, they're both Scotiabank, I guess, owned or operated or whatnot. So we call it the Rogers, I think they call it the Scotiabank, if I'm not mistaken. The Scotiabank Center used to be called the Rogers Center. I think it's Scotiabank Center now or something like that. And then this is called the Scotiabank Saddle Dome. So yeah, and speaking of Saddle Dome, one of the things about Calgary is there's a saying, somebody taught me this, is that Calgary is called Little Texas. So if you haven't been to Calgary, one thing you'll notice is that they're into their cowgirls and cow guys. So they hold like a cowgirl culture type of thing. So we have something called Stampede here in the month of July. Happens every July, almost like how we have a Caravana in Toronto, or like maybe the C&E, I should say, because this is like the scene. Actually, it's more like the C&E. You come like to a grounds, and it's like 2 weeks of just theme park stuff, rodeo, all that kind of stuff, going there, seeing horses race and things like that. So it's very much a cowgirl type of place. You'll see that pickup trucks and cowboy hats and boots, and you'll see a lot of the boots and hats coming out during the Stampede. So yeah, that's something to come to. Again, it's almost like the C&E. I would say I liken it to the C&E when we have the C&E open in August in Toronto. But yeah, another thing, similarities and differences of Calgary and Toronto. I think I've already mentioned again, much stricter here, a lot more looser in Toronto. Oh, the parking, the houses. One thing I've noticed is in Toronto, or even in Ontario, our car garages are at the front of the house. In Calgary, you'll see a lot of, depending on where you are, it really does depend. I find, at least in the northeast where I am, and even some other parts of Calgary, you'll see car park, the garages at the back. The garages at the back of the house. So again, Toronto, parking at the front, like in front of your house, whereas in Calgary, parking at the back. Yeah. And I think that would be, I think that's it. So yeah. There might be more, but those are the similarities and differences that I've noticed so far. If you know of any, don't be afraid to share in the comment section what those things are, because I'm pretty sure I left things out. And yeah, so again, welcome to the Still Life. I hope you come and visit again. So do share, like, and subscribe my channel. And if there's anything you want to know about Calgary life, my journey, experience living here, come back and visit. I will try to make it worth your while to come here. I hope that what I've shared thus far about Calgary has helped you in some way. And yeah, I just plan on sharing more. And so that's it. Welcome to the Still Life.